What we have here is another database list, and this one is focused on a flower sales company, flower and plants and what have you. And we have quite a few fields of information which should give you some ideas when you're working on your own data. Try to bring in as many fields from wherever you're bringing it in from into here, because the more fields you have, the more different designs of PivotTable you can put together. All right. What we've done here is we've brought in information such as the order date, the ship date, the company that we sold to, where they're located, the product that they purchased, the life cycle of the product. Is it a perennial, annual, biannual, that type of thing. The color of it, the bloom time of it. All right. Now you might think these are kind of silly, but if you're trying to do analysis of your data, you're trying to summarize your data, you work with all these fields and you find those fields that will give you the design that will eventually give you the summary that is going to be breakthrough as far as you knowing what your business is doing and what your business is trying to tell you. So we're going to start out with trying to figure out the profitability of the companies that we're selling to. So if we're going to look at all of our different customers, add up the revenue that we have made from them, that we've collected from them, compare that with the cost of goods of what we had sold them, we can kind of figure out the profit, profit margin and so forth. And then we can look at territories, we can look at countries, we can look at all the other fields that we have here and compare that same kind of information between each of those fields. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So let's first of all click anywhere in the data. All right, and of course our data is perfect, no blank rows or columns. It's nice and compact, so that we're good on. Okay, so next thing we'll do is we'll go back into the Insert tab. We're going to click on to Pivot Table. We're going to hit OK because we want this on a new sheet. And there we go. All right. Now, next thing, let's focus first of all on our companies. So we're going to take the company field that we have here, drag it down into the rows area, and there we go. Perfect. So quite a few different companies in here. So now we want to take their revenue. So think about this. If we looked at every company and took the dollar amount that was transacted on each of these sales for each of the companies, that's basically what we're doing here. Now, if you were to do this by hand, let's just say that we've got approximately maybe about 90 companies. You would have to do 90 different calculations to get, the numbers that you need from the total sale here, that field. So that is your revenue, that's your cost of goods here, all right? So all we need to do is we're going to go down and find our T cost, or I'm sorry, our T sale, which is our total sale. Take that and we're going to drag it into the values, just like that. Perfect. All right, so now keep in mind that this is, when we look at our sales that we have here, let me go back to the data here. This is ranging for many, many years. So the numbers that you're seeing here are for multiple years of sales. We'll break it down later on into years and quarters and months and all that stuff. But right now, we're just kind of focused on just the data as a whole, all right? So when it comes to revenue, that's how much we brought in for all those years for each of these companies. Next thing we want to do is we want to bring in the cost of goods. Now, fortunately, when we brought in our data, we brought in the total cost. Now, the total cost came from taking the quantity that they had purchased times the cost that we pay for it, and that's what we get that. And pretty much the total sale is gotten from taking the quantity times the unit price that we're selling it for, and that's where we get the revenue from. So that's great for that one. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in the total cost underneath the total sale. And there we go. So we've got that number in revenue, that in cost of goods. All right. Now, here comes the fun part. We want to come up with the profit. Now, if you take a look at your data, we don't have a column set up for profit, which is a very simple, take the total sale minus the total cost kind of stuff. We could go back into here and set up that new column. Or what we can do is actually create that field, that column in essence, while we're in the pivot table. Now, it won't end up being out here, but it will be contained within the pivot environment. So once you've created that field that does that subtraction for profit, as you create more and more pivot tables off this database, that field will be in this list for you to pick from. So once it's created, it's in there. All right. All right. So how do we make this happen? How do we make this calculation happen? Well, what you'll do first of all is you'll go over to Analyze. You'll go over into the Calculations area and click on to Fields, Items, and Sets. And where do you think you might go to for the calculated field, do you think? Come on, take a guess. There you go. Click on a calculated field. The first part, it wants to know what you want to call this, all right? And I'm just going to call it, well, I'll just call it profit, all right, for now. All right. And then the most important part is the formula that's going to give us this number for profit. So what we do is you can just kind of select that, and if you want to get rid of it too, you can just backspace it out. But once you've done that, the first field in consideration here is going to be the total sale. So we basically want to take the total sale minus the total cost. So we're going to do a double click on total sale, minus, just hit your minus, and then total cost. Double click that. Once you've done that, you hit OK, and there it is. And for some reason, when you do calculated fields, it does the formatting for you, at least for commas. So now we want to figure out another calculated field, and this one's going to be for the profit margin. Okay, and the profit margin, what we're going to do is we're going to take the profit divided by the revenue, and that will give us the margin. All right. Now, I'm going to make a mistake in doing this so that I can show you where to go to fix it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back over into Analyze, go to Fields and Items, and then go to Calculated Field. All right. Now we'll just call this one, now we'll just call it Margin for now. Okay. So there's our margin. Now, what is margin it can consist of? All right. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say, well, margin is taking the total sale, all right, divided by the profit, all right? So it's kind of like backwards, all right? Hit OK on that, and I get this. And that's a mess. That's nothing. I think that says like 300% on everything. All right, and I go, oh, I realize I made a mistake here. So how are we going to fix this? All right. Well, if you go back to your fields and items, go back to your calculated field. In the drop down here, you'll see all of the calculated fields that you've created so far. We're going to click on a margin. There it is. Now this time what we're going to do, I'll backspace that out. This time we're going to take the profit, this guy right here, divided by the total sale. So by the revenue, right? Hit OK on that one. All right, and we'll get all zeros. Now there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that the field is formatted to no decimal places. So what we're going to have to do is we'll double click onto the sum of margin, go to number format, go to percentage, and maybe we'll do maybe one decimal place in there. So percentage, one decimal, hit OK, and there we go. So this shows you your gross margin. for those of you that are interested. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now, to fix this up a little bit, let's get some new labels in here. So the first one here, we're going to go ahead and call this one revenue. All right. For this one, we'll call this maybe COG''S for cost of goods. And for this next one, we'll call this one maybe, now I think we call that profit, so maybe we'll just call this one, we'll just call it GM for gross margin. We can get away with that. And this could be maybe GM percentage. All right. So there we go. Aside from that, we can also double click each one of these, go into the number format, hit number, no decimals, comma, hit OK, and then just do the same thing for the other one here. So very quickly, go that, and 2 decimal or 1 or 0 decimal places and commas. All right, there we go. Now we can get this looking a little bit better by going back over into the design of the PivotTable tools, go into our styles here, and we can go, well, we can maybe go with the medium again, and maybe the green one here. And then we can kind of maybe accentuate the borders a little bit. So we'll just go with the banded rows, do something like that. So that doesn't look too bad. Other than that, you could also maybe go back over to Analyze, go back to your pivot table, and go into your options, all right, and tell it that you want to merge and center. I don't know if it'll do much good, but we'll see what happens. We'll hit OK. Okay, so that's all it did. Just kind of centered the labels. All right, but anyway, that looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is create some more pivots quickly and swap out the fields so we can see other comparisons of revenue and cost of goods and all that on some of the other fields. So to save ourselves some time here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this that we've already created, copy it over to here, and then change it up a little bit. Okay, so that way I can maintain the formatting and everything else that I have there without having to start all over again, right? So we'll click on it here, and plus 2, I want to make this look more like a dashboard in a way. When we get done with it, you'll see it. So I'll click onto there, go back into Analyze, and we have an item on here called Actions. And this is going to be kind of shrunk up for me because I'm working with a different kind of screen here. It's a smaller screen so I can record the videos better quality. So we just go and click onto Actions, and then you'll see Select, and then you'll see Entire Pivot Table. Now you could have also just kind of drug from here over there and down, but you know, God knows how far you might have to drag it, and this is just a lot easier. Once you've done that, we can do a right click on it, hit copy, maybe go over here to G, right click it, and we'll just go ahead and paste it in, just like that. And we can go ahead too, very quickly, just go and select all these here, double click it, and you can, you know, get it to look the same as this one over there. I'm gonna hit my escape key to get rid of the ants running around there. Okay, so now we're gonna change this up, different data. This time around, what I want to do, I want to swap out the company for zone. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the company out. So just pull that out. Find my zone, drag that back into rows, and there we go. So, I mean, you got to think about this. For the amount of time it took you to do this, if you did this by hand, and then here you are changing up totally and saying, now we want to just, you know, basically group and total it by you know, zone or territory, you're going to have completely different calculations, so therefore a lot more work to do again. But here with the pivot table, look how fast we did that. That's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit smaller there. Okay, so that's good. Now, the other thing we can do off of this is maybe create a graph. This will be a perfect candidate for a graph because there's not a lot of data. That's the beauty of this. Okay, so all we really have to do is just click anywhere in the pivot, go back to Analyze, go to Pivot Chart, We'll just go with this one here. It looks good. Hit OK. Brings it in. We'll just kind of pull it down here, just like that. If we want to make it the same size, we'll change the width a little bit here. There we go. Not bad for a graph. Now, we could put the legend on the top, gives a little bit more room here, so we can hit the little plus here, go to legend, hit that little arrow, and tell it we want the legend at the top. So there it goes on the top, gives a little bit more room there. And then what we can also do is double click onto any one of the bars, like that, and tell it that we want the gap to be lessened, and by doing that, it'll make the bars wider, see? Not too bad. Not a big thing, but there it goes. So, not bad for a graph. You'll notice that the one of the items that's being graphed is the gross margin, which is a number less than 1. So obviously with all these other numbers that are in the millions, that GM is worse than looking like a pancake. I think it's like completely flat. You can't even see it here. If we zoomed in really close, you could probably maybe see a little bit of yellow. But it doesn't matter in this case. We're not really concerned with that. The other 3 numbers are more important. So good stuff there. Now again, we'll make another duplicate. We'll just duplicate this one here. So we'll click on it here, go to Analyze, go to Actions, Select, Entire Pivot Table. We could probably just select it, that one, but anyway, right-click it, hit Copy, go down to about right here, right-click it, paste it, and now we're going to take this one, and I want to swap out the zone for the country. All right, so I'm going to take the zone out, just like that, bring in country, and now I can actually see my revenues on a per country basis, see the cost of goods that went into those sales, the margin, and the percentage. Now you've got to understand that this business thrives on basically living plants and flowers and things like that, and every piece of information about sales or product or what have you is muy importante, okay? So it wouldn't surprise anybody to know that maybe what we'd like to do now is figure out these same components here for maybe the life cycle of the plants. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this, which is still already selected, and we can actually just go over to here, and we can do a right click and paste it, and now there it is. So now with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to click onto it, and we're going to pull out the zone, and we're going to put instead the life cycle. So we'll find our life cycle here, drag that in. Now that's pretty cool. So now you can look on the idea of annual flowers versus biannual versus perennial and see those numbers. That will mean something to somebody, all right? You can make a graph out of it too, but we're not going to worry about that right now, but that's pretty cool, all right? We can take it, again, now this is still copied, so we can actually just maybe go to here, all right? Right-click it, paste it, here we are again, all right? Now this time, what I'd like to do is swap out the zone with the color, okay, of the flower, all right, so, or the plant, whatever it is. So bring that in, there we go. I mean, and as you can see, obviously different numbers because these are different, so you almost think of almost like filters in a way, right, when you do this. Now again, I can go a couple down here, do a right click, hit paste again, there it is, and this time I'm going to pull the zone out, all right, and instead I'm going to put in there the seasonality here, which will be the bloom, and take the bloom and drag that down into the rose area. Now I got my fall, spring, and summer. Not bad. Nothing in winter. We have nothing that grows in winter, but that's what we have there. And then again, we can go back to here. We can do a right click, paste it again, and this time we'll go and we'll swap out zone for the sales rep. All right, so we find our sales rep somewhere here. There's a rep. Drag it down there. Voila. Not too bad. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, maybe make a graph out of that, again, all you have to do is just make sure you're somewhere in the pivot. Go back into the Analyze. Go to your pivot chart. I think we'll do this time, we'll go with the stacked one. That might look kind of cool. So do a stacked, hit OK. There it is. Now we can take that, move it down to here, let's say. Go over a little bit here, pull it in. There we go. And that looks good. I mean, just the way it is right there, that would work well. Again, you don't really see too much of the gross margin percentage. It's so minuscule, it's not even worth even looking at. Though, what we could do, and this is an option here, okay, is we can actually click onto one of the bars, just like that. We can go up into the Design tab here, tell it we want to change the chart type, and tell it that we want the gross margin percentage, which we can't see. We want to turn that into maybe a line graph. This will be right here, all right? And that will be on, and you'll see now it's completely flat there. And then we tell it we wanted to put it on its own axis, like that, see? And then we hit OK, and there you go. Now, you might click onto the line, like that, go back into the format, and tell it that you want to change the line color maybe to red, or the marker there to red. And there you go. So, looks pretty cool. All right, so that's with that one, and I think one more. We'll have to do the plant name, which is the, and they call it common name. And we can do that. We'll go back up to the top here, click onto here, go back into Analyze, Actions, Select, Entire Table, and then we can do a right click on it, hit Copy, go over here, right click it, paste it, and then take the life cycle out, and we'll put the common name in, and there we go. Take a look at that. And that would probably be one of the more important ones because we're actually looking at the actual product and seeing what the revenue, what the cost of goods, what the profit and margin are. So that's a really good one to have there. Okay, so thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you can use some of these tools and techniques and ideas in your own pivot table designs. Thanks for watching. Take care.